How's it going, everybody? In this video, we're going to go ahead and take a look at working with virtual machines when it comes to a single ESXi host. So I'm going to go ahead and log into the ESXi host, and we're going to take a look at what it is that we need to know about a virtual machine. We're going to take a look at how we can take the operating systems that we need to use in order to deploy a virtual machine and how we can get them into our ESXi host, because that's going to be one of the main things that you're going to have to do. There's a number of ways of doing it, but there's going to be a few things we need to know and understand about that process before we start diving into it. So let me go ahead and switch gears over to the desktop, and we'll take a look at that. Alright, here on the desktop, we're going to take a look at some of the different things we're going to need to understand about the VM itself. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of whiteboarding here as we dive into virtualization, VMFS, and stuff like that. So the very first thing that we need to understand about virtual machines when we go to work with data stores and things like that is that the data store in and of itself is going to be at the hard drive, whether it's a flash drive, whether it's a persistent memory, whether it's a iSCSI back data store where the storage is remote. Regardless of what the data store is, whenever we're working with virtual machines and we're going to be deploying VMFS, we need to make sure that we understand that this is going to be a file system that a virtual machine is going to use. It's specifically built to work with virtual machines. And it's basically going to take a file system that VMware created and operate on top of block storage. What is block storage? Block storage, and we'll talk more about this once we get into vCenter server, because really that's where the meat and taters of all the storage is going to take place. Block storage is going to be storage that represents a physical hard drive. So you have block level storage and you have file level storage. Block level storage is you presenting to a system what appears to be a physical drive, where file level storage is you presenting to a system a folder. So just to give you an example what that means real quick, if we go to this PC, this right here is an example of block level storage, right? We can see the hard drive and everything that goes along with that. But if I look right above it, we have folders, right? Folders indicate file level storage. So I can store a file inside of documents here, right? I've got nothing's there at the moment. But if I go into my hard drive, which is my block level storage, I have all of the files that are needed to run the operating system. And that's really the big difference between the two. So I could take VMFS, the VMware File System, and a virtual machine file system, and I can deploy that across a number of data stores and stuff like that. We'll take a look at storage in more detail in an upcoming video, but I just want to give you guys an idea of what that really looks like. Let me go ahead and log in here to the host, and we're going to begin diving into a deployment of an operating system and trying to work with the file system itself. Alright, so we're logged into our ESXi host, and now we need to work with our storage. Right now we have about 100 gigs of free space on our storage appliance right now, which is our locally attached hard drive. So one of the first things we're going to have to do is we have to work on getting an operating system mapped. Now, again, there's a number of ways that you can do this. You can go into, click on storage. You can go to the data store itself, which is data store 1. As you can see, it's non-SSD. It's a spinning disk. Capacity is about 100 gigs. About 1.5 gigs is provisioned. You get about 91 gigs open, so on and so forth. Then provisioning is supported. If I was to click on data store 1, we can look at the details of it and see how it's all laid out, and its universally unique identifier, the location where the volume is stored inside of the ESXi host, and all that type of stuff. There's one host attached to it. There's 0 virtual machines using it. So what's one of the things we can do? We can actually rename it. I'm going to go ahead and come in here and go rename. This will be renaming the data stores from data store 1 to B, and I'll put in here virt-host1-hd1. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click on save. Now I just renamed the data store. Let's go ahead and refresh that. And now we can see virt host1-hd1. Perfect. So now that's going to be where that's its friendly name. Okay, so nothing in the back end right here changed, right? So now if I wanted to go and do something to this data store, if I wanted to make it bigger, I could do that. If I can click on increase capacity, I can add an extent to an existing VMFS data store. So if I was to click on next, I don't have any extents to offer. In other words, I don't have any other hard drives to basically extend this VMFS data store across. So I'll talk about LUNs, logical unit numbers, and extents, and how all that type of stuff comes into play later. But if I have an additional hard drive that I want to pop into this guy, and I want to extend my data store size from 100 gigs to say I had a 128 gig hard drive in here, I can extend the data store over to an additional physical hard drive, and VMware will do all the back-end connectivity that we need to worry about, but that's one of the options that's available for us. If I wanted to browse the data store, like what's in the data store, currently nothing. It's a blank repository. Now, this is also where you would go through and upload any type of data to the data store that you want to. I click on upload, and it's going to come in here. It's going to be like, okay, well, what do you got for me, Chief? And right now, we don't have anything. We need to upload an operating system to the data store. So I'm going to actually go ahead and show you how this works. I'm going to go back to this PC, and I'm going to type in here whack 10.255.10.10 and press a whack, another whack or a backslash, hit the enter key. And that's going to go out and it's going to reach out to a file share that I happen to have on my local network. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to authenticate to it. I'm going to pause the video until I have navigated to where my files are that I need to upload. So I'm going to upload Windows Server 2012 R2 to the server, and we're going to use that to deploy some VMs. Alright, so I'm in the process of uploading a file right now. We're uploading Server 2012 R2 to the server. We can see that we're 1% complete. So it's copying that over my network to this hard drive on this virtual host. So I'm going to click on close, and we can see down here at the bottom that it's actually actively working. So I'm going to pause until that's completely done. It's going to take some time to upload. It's a rather large 4 or 5 gig folder, or file, excuse me. But once it's uploaded, I'll be able to go into the data store browser and be able to see it. So I'll bring you guys back in here in just a moment once it's uploaded. Alright, so I went ahead and I uploaded Ubuntu 16.04 for a Linux desktop as well as Server 2012 R2. So I'm going to go ahead and click on close. And I'm going to come over here to virtual machines. So right now we don't have any virtual machines deployed. But if I wanted to deploy a virtual machine, I'd be able to do that right now. As it sits right now, that is the basics to working with a data store. So we went ahead and we opened it up. We uploaded an ISO to the data store. Pretty straightforward stuff. In the next video, we're going to walk through what is a virtual machine, how do you deploy one, how do you get it configured correctly, and all that type of stuff. That'll be the next video. So until next time, guys, thanks so much for stopping by and hanging out with me. And take it easy.